The sky broke, the rain poured. The kids on the block ran to my covered porch. Huddled together, we swore forever best friends. Yeah, I remember way back when. We bought bells for our bikes, strings for our kites, allowance a big 50 cents. We flipped baseball cards and we camped in backyards. A blanket made such a good tent. I remember way back when. Snow days and sleigh rides, blue lips near frostbite. But when I heard that calling, I knew I'd better get in. Yeah, I remember way back when. Church bells would ring, carolers would sing, neighborhood voices would blend. Then off they would go into drifts of white snow, in silent night over again. I remember way back when. And I grew up in a time when the world was starting to open its mind. I'd give anything to go back there again, when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan. First kiss, near miss, the chapstick she wore stayed on my lips. We were together all week, on the weekend. There was stickball and dodgeball and bad calls and street brawls, a black eye from your best friend. Red Rover, let Muffin come over. Had no time for full-time girlfriend. It was grandma's on Sunday, finish homework for Monday, bonanza then in bed by 10. When walking to school with my friends was so cool, I never thought those days would end. I remember way back. Let me take you way back. Tonight I'm going way back when. The sky broke, the rain poured. The kids on the block ran to my covered porch.
Welcome to Big Blend Radio, everybody. Nancy and I are so honored to have a special show dedicated to Jimmy-Yessian. Many know him as Muffin Man, a prolific songwriter, singer, guitarist, musician, writer. I mean, he's done so much in the world of music. And over, I'd say, 10 years, he's been on our shows through the Tall Men Group and also his latest album, solo album, Future. Jimmy has since passed, and we have some of his friends on the show today, especially talking about Jimmy, Muffin Man, and also an album that Jeff Kozak, and this all started with Jeff coming on our show, that we got to meet all these amazing musicians. Thank you, Jeff, who is here. Jeff Kozak spearheaded an album called Muffin Music, the songs of Jimmy Muffin-Yessian, performed by his talented friends, and we have a few of them here today. So we're very excited to have them here and also to honor Jimmy. Jimmy, Muffin Man, you rock, and we never did get to eat his cooking. So, and we never met him in person. And so I want to say this, as we get started, don't let those moments go by. Yeah. So I want to say, shout out first off to Marty Axelrod. You just heard him perform way back when. It's the very first song on the album. How are you, Marty? That's a perfect song for you, by the way. It's
Thank you.
You know, it is. So how are you doing?
Yeah. Good, thanks. Good to be back with you guys. It's funny when Jeff suggested that we do an album of Jimmy's songs, I knew immediately which one I wanted to do because every time Jimmy would sing that song live, I would be in tears. And it's just one of those songs that's just so sweet and also funny, and it just captures so much about looking back on your childhood days, and also Jimmy grew up in the Bronx, so it feels like the story of a kid who grew up in the Bronx, but wherever you grew up, you can relate to every word of that song. So it's just always been, it's just one of those songs that always gets to me, and so I was really glad that nobody else picked it before me. And then I found a performance of Jimmy doing it live on YouTube, and I just transcribed his guitar part note for note to piano because he put a lot of thought into his guitar arrangements, and there was nothing kind of random or haphazard about what he played. It was always very perfectly designed for the song. So I just didn't want to change a thing. So I just played the same thing on piano and it's the same key. And I just actually I did take the key up a little bit because Jimmy had more of a baritone voice than I do.
But it's interesting that you chose that because it's very, you always tell stories, and Jimmy is a master storyteller too, like you are, and it just, that song is, I mean, everyone, and I think it's poignant for now, So I want to bring Jeff on. Jeff, how are you?
I'm okay. As you know, I'm traveling right now, but I certainly wouldn't miss the opportunity to be here. You guys do such a great job at.
Hey, Jeff, Jeff, we can't hear you. You need to go closer to your phone or something. You were clear before, but lean in.
I'll tell you what. I'm sorry. I had a headset on. Now I'm on the phone. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to say I'm traveling, but I certainly wouldn't miss the opportunity to be with you and commemorate everyone's friendship with Jimmy. He's larger than life in the songwriting community, from New York to Nashville to Los Angeles and every place else in between where he's played. And I liken Jimmy to George Bailey and Frank Capra's "It's a Wonderful Life." This world without Jimmy would have been so different. And I reached out. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say on the album, you were talking about likening to Jimmy. I was like, on the album notes you posted up on Bandcamp, and everyone, you can get it on Bandcamp. You could just go to muffinmusic2021.bandcamp.com. You'll see under releases the album, and we'll talk about where the money goes when you purchase. But you likened him to Johnny Appleseed.
Johnny Appleseed, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing about Jimmy. He... I met him years ago, like 30 years ago, and every place he went, people just were magnetized by him and wanted to be in the light of his presence, and every place he went, he lifted people and mentored people. He helped songwriters, and honestly, I was a journeyman songwriter when I met him, but he made me a better songwriter just by hanging out with him and putting me into putting opportunities before me that I would have to rise to, so that's important, super important, and a great thing to honor. When, last November, Jimmy noticed he wasn't feeling right, and he talked about it with me for a month, and then I said, get yourself to a doctor, brother, and he did, and by the end of January, he had a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, and he told me this, and I came away from that phone call because it was a phone call because it was during the pandemic, and my wife and I were already living in Palm Springs, and I already began having from the time that I hung up the phone, I was like, we got to find a way to honor him while he's still alive.
Right.
To do it posthumously would not stand. And so I reached out to all the people that I could think of in my head that have been touched by Jimmy and his influence, and then I spoke to his wife Leslie, and I said, listen, this is what I'm doing for Jimmy. Do you think I should tell him? And she said, by all means, tell him. He could use a little good news. And so I had invited, the record was going to be originally, 12 to 15 artists, certainly all of the Tall Men group. Warren for sure, because Jimmy has had like music. He has musical blooms in his life, from Nashville, from Bronx to California, where he was a formative figure, at songwriting events, but also at a specific event called Durango Songwriters Expo. It's where young songwriters learn to become better songwriters. And so I invited these people, and I had it pretty much all in the bag. And I had a conversation with Jimmy, and he said, and I laugh every time I think about it. He goes, "Well, Jeff, I love you for doing that, man. You're a brother, like I had a brother." And he said, "But you don't know everybody I know. Can I add a few more people?" And so I was like, "Of course. There's no way I was going to say no to Jimmy." And the song went from 12 to 15 to 27 songs, and everybody, exactly. And it took me from. Everybody, during COVID, making a cooperative album like this is a bit of a feat, because not everybody has access to a studio. So my directive to everybody was, you can send me anything you want. Send me a guitar and a vocal. I'll figure it out. I am a producer. I have some studio skills, and I'll figure it out. And what I got were songs that some were raw, that needed producing upwards. And then there were songs like Marty's. When I got it, I really didn't have to do anything to it except balance his vocal and balance his keyboard. And then I got like a song like Warren's that came to me pretty much produced. I had some ideas about it. We'll talk about that when Warren's tune is up. And we did it. I mean, parts were added at my studio. I did some mixing where I had to, and then I mastered it all together into this beautiful collection. Before we go any further, I'd like to say a little something about the sequence of the record. How do you sequence a 27-song record? Usually when you're mastering a record, you try to create rises and falls. And Marty, God bless you, Marty, man, you were there with me through the whole thing, my rock, as was Warren. I mean, these guys are with me here for a reason.
And Warren's here. By the way, let's just before you go there, let's just bring Warren on, because we're talking about him, and he's sitting there going, hello. So everyone, this is Warren Sellers is here, not to be mistaken by Peter Sellers, but Warren Sellers is here, and we're going to play Me and Donovan from him later. But Warren, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great, privileged to be a part of it, and I was privileged to be a part of the record. And I got to say immediately that I can hear the melody in that song. That's very Jimmy, that melody, number one. Number two, Marty, that song sounds like it was written for you. May not be his story, but you couldn't deliver something more perfectly. So it's just been an amazing thing to be a part of, and the fact that what Jeff did to do it was an incomparable feat, really. And I have to say one last thing is that I didn't know Jimmy's last name for years. Years.
Most people did.
I knew him. I did not have any idea. It was years down the road, somebody said, "Yes," and I'm sorry, who? I had no idea. For me, it was Jimmy Muffin. I didn't know anything else about it.
He's a muffin. We're going to get to the muffin thing. We are going to get into the muffin. We're going to get into the muffin because, Jimmy was on our show with his album Future, and that was back in 2019. And it was so funny because, he knew we were traveling. He like figured out what was going on in the town. We were in Florence, Colorado, which is it's one of the Supermax prison places where Kaczynski is in there, and Chapo Kaczynski is in there too, but Chapo, they brought Chapo in while we were there.
His son was trying to break him out.
Yeah, Jim. I know everything went down in case, but Jimmy goes in before we go and do the show. He comes in. He's like, yeah, there's a car show going on there. We're like, really? He's like checked out on some app or something where we were. He knew more about where we were than what we did. All we knew is like Chapo's around the corner, man, and there's a farm stand right across the street.
And then the internet went out because they were flying El Chapo from here to there, or his cousin or his brother or something, and they don't give you a notice. You just hear a lot of helicopters and no internet.
or
and you know stuff's happening. You're like, what's going on? And then later on, you find out they were playing with El Chapo and his relatives and his brother and trying to cross the border and all sorts of stuff. We're just sitting there like,
But I want to go back to the album here with this, because Jeff, you put this together, and I love that you did it while Jimmy was here on what we call planet Earth, and I know he's cooking and playing music somewhere now, but doing it while he was there and he gets involved. We all have our beliefs and feelings, but we never got to get to his cooking, so that's why I said at the beginning of the show, don't take those times of thinking next time. Don't ever do the next time,
right.
Yeah,
right.
The Tall Men Group, you introduced the Talls to our show, Marty and John and Sarah, everyone, and all of them, all the Tall Men Group are part of this album. We've got John on there, Ed, Severin, Jeff, of course, Marty, who we started with, But putting this together, because Jimmy really has had quite a career, and you're in Nashville today. I know you're traveling, so it's kind of fitting because he really did a lot in Nashville too. So
he sure did.
It's like putting on an epic concert or something. You know what I mean? To do a set list.
It was a comprehensive project, but it was a complete labor of love. I mean, every day that I went to the studio, I never had a thing. It doesn't happen really all that often where I hate to go to the studio because I don't like what I'm working on, but every day of this project was just, who am I going to get to work on today, And it was awesome. And as I was saying before, one song came into me, finished. So I got raw songs and songs that I had to work on a little bit and songs I really didn't have to do anything with. It was kind of a very mixed bag, but very fun.
So, Jeff, I know that, when Jimmy passed, that there was a ceremonial, a memorial and music. Tell us about that part, because we missed that, and for the audience to know, how was Jimmy celebrated?
Well, here's kind of how it went. Jimmy and I kept Jimmy in the loop and kept him involved because I figured it might give him something to think about other than his, condition. And so he was an active part of it, as with a daily phone call talking about, giving me notes on my work, et cetera. And it really gave him something to think about. So on July, we finished the record. We launched it on July 1st, but on July 24th in Carpinteria, California, Arturo Teo, who runs the Palm Loft Gallery, who's also on the record, offered his venue. And Jimmy, I said, just keep it together, man. Please try and make it to the show. And we weren't really sure up until a couple of days beforehand that he was going to make it. But he came there, and we performed a little over half the record, or almost half the record, perhaps. And he got to hear it, and it was a really lovely, lovely night. He always said, he said to me after the event, he goes, wow, he goes, sometimes you just never know how people feel about you until something like this happens. And that's exactly why I did it, why we all did it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That's
and it's beautiful because
point.
It goes out now forever. And his music.
It's out there.
Music, that's the beauty of music, right? It's always there and continues on. But to have it with friends, perform your own music, I think you can't get better than that when someone performs what you've written as a songwriter.
Well, it's a different spin. I told everybody, make it your own. You don't have to do exactly what Jimmy did. You can make it your own. I mean, that's the whole idea behind interpretation,
Yeah. And we're going to play Future at the end of the show here, but I want to go back to you, Warren. Warren, tell us a little bit about how you first met Jimmy.
Well, we all come from a thing called the LA Songwriting Community, and an event that was monthly called the Western Beat. And in LA, there's a lot of places for young artists to chase your thing if you can convince 40 of your friends to come out on a Tuesday night at 7:30 and that kind of stuff. But this event was for singer-songwriters, but also even just songwriters. It was solely that centered. And our friend Billy Block, who's passed years ago now, but he ran it. It was amazing. The whole thing was inside this place, it was the singer and the song is the thing. And so there was even a room outside that could go through the French doors. They said, listen, if you need to talk, we understand. Could you go out those doors into what he called the smoozatorium? But because in here, the singer and the song is the thing. And so, and you could hear a pin drop. It's first and Thursday of every month. And so I met all of these guys they were in different bands, sometimes solo. I knew Jeff from different incarnations of different musical things he's done, and solo and otherwise, and Marty the same. And so, it was, you talk about chopping wood and kind of going to the wood shed. You had to earn your marks there. You had to play the open mic for a while before you got to be invited. It was a thing where it proved how important this thing was to you. And for me, it's always been the top of my existence as far as all that kind of thing goes. And so, we just all came from that. And some of my greatest friends, and they all came from there. And I've worked with all of them in some event or project or something, or just if it's straight up song.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting also, these events you're talking about, the Durango Songwriting Expo, that event. I remember recording an interview when we first started radio. Next year will be our 15-year anniversary. It's kind of crazy.
Wow, congratulations.
Of radio, and 25 years of our magazines here in this country, and 15 years of radio, and 10 years of doing this tour on and off of the road full time. So we're kind of weird, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
And the Durango Songwriting Expo, I remember trying to record, this is when Blog Talk, what we're recording on now, we're going back to doing this with you guys. It's kind of part of the heritage, I think. To do it any different way right now would be weird. This is how we've recorded your interviews and done live shows over the years. And I had this interview with this girl that was actually at the Durango Songwriters Expo. It was a big deal, and to record her, and she had someone who had written music for her and for Jewel and this whole thing. And I remember there was no way to record her properly. And I had this huge issue of trying to do it in all these fangled ways that never worked. But that's how long that expo that Jimmy was part of. That's how long, because this is when we first started. And you couldn't just do a regular recording like we're doing now to air. And you got to think about Jimmy going around, and his songwriting is so prolific. And, I want to go to you, Marty, on way back when you hear those lyrics, because you are an incredible songwriter where you get to the point, but you create these visuals. I think that's what's so beautiful about Way Back When and you performing this is that you have those similarities where you can put people back in what they think about in their head, those dreams. You know what I mean? If you're thinking of memories, there's this visual aspect, and you have it. 9 Cats will never leave Nancy and I now that we've been across the world. 9 Cats is always going to be with us. And
especially Pet City, where we've had 9 cats.
We have taken care of 9 cats. And Nancy walks in, she goes, 9 cats. But
be careful.
That is a real visual. But I think with Jimmy, how is that covering his music? There's got to be a sentimental, there's a pressure to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's funny. I'm working on a song now that I wrote with Jimmy several years ago, and I've always thought it was a great idea, and so I'm kind of I hope he doesn't mind that I'm going to try and finish it and make it better. But the song is called The 5th of July, and the idea is that it's like a metaphor for new romance, but all the fireworks happen on the 4th of July, and then what happens on the 5th of July? How does that carry on from after the fireworks have died down? And I love that idea, and so I'm revisiting that song. And
I hope you do it. Yeah,
I love that.
Nancy likes anything with a big rocket.
Then it's either there's more rockets later, but maybe not as big as the first time, but you're willing to continue, or you put your bathrobe on, get in the bathroom, take a shower, put your clothes on, and run.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
All
that's
right.
wonderful.
Well, I can't wait to hear it, Marty. That's
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I think you should do it. You should. You should absolutely finish it. I mean,
yeah. But Jimmy just had he had that, he wrote songs that would make you laugh and cry, and that's, I just admire that so much in any writer who can cover the whole gamut of emotions, like
human.
he did.
Yeah, he brought humanity to the forefront, to your heart. It reminded you, of who you want to be and who, if you've lost your way, you listen to his music, it's like, oh yeah, I meant to do this. Let's go back.
Yeah, right on. I mean, his song "No Time Left at All," which was kind of like I think is my favorite Tallman song of all time.
Yeah.
Is one of those things that everybody can relate to, and it's just and the idea that you were talking about before, Lisa, of just not don't let that time go by without grabbing it.
Exactly.
No Time Left at All. When I heard about Jimmy's diagnosis, I was like, oh, that song. That song has been my favorite. And Amelia K. Spicer, and did I say her name? I remember Amelia. I remember there was a thing. Do her name right. I remember because we interviewed her years ago. Amelia.
Amelia.
Yeah, she was on our show years ago. Before I think right before we met you, Jeff, on the show. And we haven't met you in person yet, but we will. And we were so close to you, and it was COVID, so we couldn't. But we did try. You were right there. But
good.
anyway, she was on our show and she sang that on the album No Time Left at All. I'm so glad you put it on there because that song is when Jimmy passed, that's what I played. I just
Amelia is the person who introduced me to Jimmy at the Western Beat. I was in Amelia's band. At first I was her bass player. And then she got a bass player, and she moved me on to guitar, and I played guitar behind her, and then another drum. It's like she said, "You got to meet this guy," and she introduced me to Jimmy at the Western Beat.
Wow. Cool. Wow. I'm glad I brought her up. The other song I wanted to talk about is Uncle Remus Tales. We have played that song so many times on our show. When we do a lot with National Geographic kids books, we do all these interviews about, underwater explorers and all the science people, and because we want kids to be aware of this magical world of getting outside and put your phone down, and we play it every time. And Jimmy's always like, you played it again. And I'm like, yeah. And Uncle Remus Tales invokes this magic that of it's like when you
there's
see
a beautiful
Firefly,
version.
on this album.
There's a beautiful version of Uncle Remus Tales on the record performed by an artist by the name of Nicola Gordon, who, a couple of artists came to me and they said, I don't know what song to do. And I actually got to curate for a few of the artists on the record. And I just said, you haven't heard it, but I did send you a link to all the songs. But if you listen to her voice and if you followed her musical journey, she is absolutely, her delivery of that song was so right on.
Yeah. Nicola Gordon, and everyone, it's up on, I just want to give a shout out. So muffinmusic2021.bandcamp.com. Go there, and every $15 of every download purchase will go to PanCan, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and you can go to pancan.org to learn more. Sorry, who was speaking there? Sorry, I had to plug.
Just was going to say that I'm really glad that I told Jimmy several times that I think Uncle Remus Tales is a perfectly written song. It doesn't go where you think it's going to go, and where it goes is where it absolutely should go. And I'm really glad that I let him know how much I appreciated his writing on that.
It's one of my favorite songs on the planet. It really is. Jeff, other thing on this album is you get a surprise when you're listening through to it. And, I've listened through it a few times, and then you really, you for those who know him, I mean, for you guys, it's beautiful and hard, right, when we lose our friends, and especially in music. We had our band back in the day, and our bass player passed, and it wasn't that long ago, and he was also my love. And when he passed away, we worked on all this music. I taught him bass guitar and the blues riffs. And when he passed, we had gone through so much musically, and where did we want the band to go, and all of this stuff. And it was so hard, and music was so hard and so comforting at the same time because of the music you share. And I think that's something I want, like, people to understand. Like, for musicians, we've lost so many musicians over this pandemic. I mean, always, people always pass away, as different with Jimmy, with, cancer. And obviously this is something we all deal with. But it is so hard. I mean, Charlie Watts dying, right? It is so hard for the musicians to get back up on stage. They get through the music. There's a connection, and it's beautiful. But it is so hard because so much remembers that memory of. So it's hard because music is everywhere, and it's the beauty that moves us forward. But it's also so difficult.
What's happened to me since Jimmy passed is that I feel so lucky to be making music, and it's become as important as it has been my whole life. It's become more important, much more important to me since Jimmy passed. I just feel like I have this opportunity, and just want to do it as much as I possibly can.
For Lisa and I, as we travel, and when we didn't travel, our day always started with, we need to put the music on. It's like the sunrise and the sunset. If you like a totally silent thing is kind of good for you can go in your mind and make your own music, but after a while you're like, dude, I need some music. And so you put on your favorite performers, and then we always had the space where let's go to not the really famous, let's go find the independents, let's find the people who are making music and see what they have to say. Because after a while, I have to say at least, I'm not going to get in trouble, but Hotel California. I know somebody we just interviewed is doing it.
Joe Louis Walker, amazing blues artist, just covered it. Yes. Yeah.
So that's good, but
it's a good song. It's just overplayed.
It is a good song.
But you're saying there's a lot more out there to be be explored.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Well put.
Thank you for helping me out there. I just talked myself into a big corner because it's like, when you put on the radio and we're traveling and the major stations, here comes Hotel California again.
I just put our MP3 player on, and I mean, we're old school because we still have a CD player, by the way, in the car, but it's not working anymore. It's like, but it's not working. If it gets too hot, like it spits it back out and won't let me put one in, and I'm like, you can't do that. Jeff, I have your album
Can I
with
say
me.
to you, I'm sorry. Can I say to you that I think what you said something was so great because I write music every day, songs every day, and the notion that a song is literally a sunrise in my soul makes complete utter sense to me.
Yeah, it is. Do you know how important it is? Do you know it's like vitamin D?
Yeah.
It is.
It's like we go out and watch the sunrise wherever we can, wherever we are. And I want a song. Now, if there is no,
I call them emotional vitamins.
Yeah, it's very good. That's it. Because then it gives you the strength for the day. And then at the end of the day, besides the cocktail or whatever, I want the sunset song. Like you did a good job. Everything's okay, even though politically the world's up to whatever. The sun goes, I'm going down because I need to sleep. And you're like, okay, that's normal. Rest.
And you get to do it all tomorrow.
Yeah, so you start over tomorrow, but tonight you get to rest easy. And I like to close with a song because in my brain or music we put on, which could be classical, it could be modern day, it could be rap, it could be anything, just in the moment of I don't want to be in a world where there's no music. I have no interest in a world without music.
Or animals.
I've never met you.
I don't even know if I want to be in a car without a CD player.
Listen, I have a problem. I mean, I'm keeping the car for the CD player. No, actually, she's really good. She's a good girl. She's taken us across the country so many times that I'm like, this is going to be an antique in a museum sometime. But, you know, the music is it. Music takes you through absolutely everything in your life. And those who really, I think when we look at Jimmy's life in music, I mean, we can only talk about the music we hear, Nancy and I, from Jimmy and from the Tall Man Group. That's how we know him. And then his solo albums. And then also the two of you, Jeff, you know, from the different mother, you know, what you guys did too, you know, coming on our shows, you know, and the music, it affects us. We listen, you know, we go into towns, we drive, we listen to, whenever we get into an area, we try to find a local station. If it's a university town, you get good music, good blues, good jazz, good folk. If you can get into kind of NPR, PBS, whatever, like something public, you know, anyway, not anti, but not the same playlist that they sold to everybody else. You know what I mean? Because that's how you get the Hotel California. Not being mean, but just saying. It's great for the musicians. They're making money through that. But when you can get into a localized thing, it's really cool when you can get local music. It's very rare. But half of the time, we get to this point, it's like you can't. So we plug in whatever I have, or if a CD will go through the CD player, like at a certain point it will work. And I'm like looking at Nancy and going, dude, the music we play on our shows is so much better these days. You know,
exactly.
I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just saying, like, our music on our show, not our music, but we feel like we feel ownership on this, because it's like we invested time. We love this. And Tall Men Group, I'm just saying, you guys put some, you know what, I think because there was a cohesiveness with the dinners and the theme, and you guys working together on this. Jeff, you want to tell everybody about the Tall Men Group, because, you know, Jimmy has a long life of different things, and the Tall Men Group is definitely a big part.
Jimmy said one day, you know, he asked me, he goes, listen, I'm going to invite some people to my house for a dinner, just songwriters. And, you know, we all knew each other, but he said he reached out to us and he heard back from every one of us within about 10 minutes. And we were all in. And what happened was we were instructed to bring a song, whatever we were working on, and we played that song, and then somebody said, hey, what are we going to write about next month? Well, that scared the heck out of me. Because at the time I wasn't writing that. I was writing maybe 4 songs a year. I was working on other people's music, and I, you know, still had a job. You know, I still had other things going on in my life.
Yeah.
But what the Tall Man Group taught me was that writing is a muscle. You know, you can develop it, and it becomes something that you can actually do every day, like Warren does, and Marty, and like Marty is doing, and so the Talls were born of that, and we got together and they're still doing it. I was in the band for 7 years, where we each brought in a fresh song every month based on a common theme. And it was so interesting to see how 6 different guys handled the same idea.
Oh, cool.
You know?
I like that.
You left out the fact
and
that
the songs
Jimmy made dinner.
And the songs were always great. And by the way, Jimmy also gave us dinner, and I think Marty maintains that it was the food that kept us coming back.
Absolutely. The last time I saw Jimmy, I said you had to shop for the dinner, plan the dinner, make the dinner, then you had to write the songs, your song for that month, and be ready to perform it. And you know, I never took for granted how much love he put into that whole process.
So what happens from now? Like, I know, Jeff, you went more on the solo path after, you know, for the last couple of years or a year. You said, okay, I'm not going to do the Tall Men anymore. And, you know, so Marty, what happens from here?
Well, the 4 of us, John and Ed and Severin and I, we did one gig in July when there was sort of a dip in COVID and an outdoor house concert, and now we're starting to book some more gigs. So we're just going to carry on because Jimmy would be furious if we didn't. So.
Yeah, I love that because the music that you guys create. I mean, we still play all your music all the time. Well, but now we do Zoom shows. It's a little different, but you guys, your music just you tell stories of life through the Tallman Group and Jeff. You know, Jimmy's music. I mean, we've covered a lot of you guys. Come on the show anytime, because it's beautiful what you write. I was getting to this at a point and veered off because we always veer off on the show. But Jeff, the part of what got me listening to the album, and that's what, it will give people a shock. You will hear Jimmy on the album, and it kind of, you sit up, in your chair.
Yep.
You will hear him on a couple songs. You'll hear him on From Different Mothers, and like we did, and it will make you sit up and remember, and you're going to have your own experience with that. And I'm really glad he's part of the album. I think that was a good thing.
It was always my intention to feature him as a hidden track, but I wanted it to be, choosing the song was sort of a no-brainer. It was the first song that Jimmy ever asked me to perform with him. So and even though we put it out as From Different Mothers, that's kind of what From Different Mothers was. I mean, I played, he sang on my stuff, backgrounds. He would play, I would sing backgrounds on his stuff. So because that song meant so much to me, because it actually brought me in closer to Jimmy, and even though it's not a happy song per se, it felt right.
I want to talk about Gary's song. That song hit me so hard hearing it. It especially now, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit.
I can tell you.
That.
I know the backstory. I know the backstory of all of these songs. So Jimmy had a friend by the name of Gary, and Gary was musical, and his daughter and son, Shane, Grace, and Ryan, were close with Jimmy as part of their friendship with Jimmy's, with Jimmy. And when Gary passed away, it's been a few years, but Shane and Jimmy got together and wrote this song. And I never met Shane in all the years that I knew Jimmy until she showed up on the July 24th, to sing the song. And her live performance of it hits you every bit as hard as the album performance.
Intense.
Yeah, very, very intense. Yep.
Wow,
yep.
It's beautiful.
And there's all that stuff that's so Jimmy in the song as it relates to his friendship with Gary.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody comes into this earth and leaves this earth without several people being friendly with them, in awe of them, loving them, caring about them. It just isn't in the major headlines all the time. But I really, my experience, and I'm getting really old now, so I've lived in several countries, and we've done a whole lot of different things. I don't think anybody comes in and leaves without somebody knowing something or being aware. And they don't come in and go out without love. They don't. They really, they don't. So it's sad for the ones still here, but I believe people have. That sounds stupid, but I think they got wings. They got wings.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah. Let's play My Precious Child. What do you think, Jeff? I think it feels good to
Sure.
do that.
Let me give you the backstory up front of this, because I just had, Kent was supposed to be with us today, but his daughter's getting married on Saturday. And there's a family dinner tonight that sort of slipped his mind. But I'll tell you the story. Because I said to him, I want to tell the backstory of the song.
Lovely.
And so he wrote it for his daughter, Autumn. Kent has 8 kids, 8 children. And his daughter, he split up with Autumn's mom, and Autumn had a sister with the same mom. And but Kent got custody of both. She wanted them to be together, and she gave custody to Kent. And a few years later, she came back and she said, "Listen, my head's on straight. Can I have the girls back?" And Kent had already, built another family, and so he wrote this song as a time capsule.
Wow.
He wrote it, before when his daughter was young. But he wrote it, he said, to be a time capsule for her to play for her later. And she had never heard that song until he played her the recording for the record.
Wow. So he wrote this, not Jimmy. Did Jimmy perform it?
Well, Jimmy and he co-wrote it. Co-wrote it. They wrote it together. All the songs are rights. Jimmy solo rights.
Do you know how deep that is as a child with a negligent father? Just speaking on my own personal front here, which I never really do on this kind of stuff. But do you know how deep that is? Like, it's so huge. It means the world.
Well, it is. You can hear it in the lyric.
Here it is.
Just 3 years old, she's got a mind of her own. I don't see her much, but we talk a lot on the phone. It's not baby talk, 'cause she's got some grown-up things to say. Like, I miss you, Daddy. Why did you move away? Winters are hard, but I pick her up every spring. It helps pass the time, knowing the joy that she'll bring. And while I'm away, I remind her each day that you'll always be my little girl. And if I could, Daddy would give her the world. But no fairy tales and no nursery rhymes could ever make up for all the lost time. Takes my hand and holds on so tight with all her might. As we walk, I think she knows that I'll have to go, but just for a while. My precious child. It's all too common, families broken apart. What can you say to a baby with a broken heart? There's no way to explain that there's no one to blame, but when we stumbled, she took the fall. We couldn't protect the one that we hurt most of all. And no fairy tales and no nursery rhymes could ever make up for all the lost
You're listening to Big Blend Radio, and that was My Precious Child, and co-written by Jimmy-Yessian, and that's what the show is all about. And, of course, that was also co-written with Kent, who we were hoping Kent would be on this show, Mr. Kent Gray, and My Precious Child. And I have to say, I was talking about negligent fathers, and I didn't mean them. I just got to say. I wasn't saying them beforehand. But that's such a, I think every child that how many kids have not felt something about a broken family? Like, do we have many families that aren't broken in some way? So
yeah,
I think that really hits home. And Jeff, I wanted to touch on this because you produce, and Marty, I know you do. Warren, you're now, part of our family now. Welcome. Warren is here too, and Warren Sellers. There is a line, and I think it was in Gary's song. And Jimmy does, when he writes, he has a way of, if we talked about the visuals, right? But he was talking about a time clock, like the time moving, and then the words and the singing and the music bent, like as though you would see the time clock. Do you know what I'm talking about? There was like the time is moving. So the way they sang and the way the music went was like it moved around the corner, like if you'd visually be able to see that. Was that something? Yeah. That kind of hit home today about him.
Yeah, because music paints a picture.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't just singing like you'll see this visual. There was literally, there's the visual part from the lyrics, but the music and the singing did this turn, like a curve in the sound, which I think is it's amazing. Like to think about how you can use music to create like you're going around a curve or the clock is moving, Well,
a lot of times an artist can do that, with there's a term in music called a caesure. It's a literary term, which means
no wonder
a
I don't know.
pause or a stop, like seizure, like a ceasing. And so, one thing I noticed about Shane's performance and Ryan's piano playing on that song is they definitely use time and stops and pauses for very dramatic effect in that. That touched me as a producer. I thought they did such a great job. But Kent's song certainly super touching. My favorite, one of the things that I remember about Kent's song is when I heard it, it didn't have background vocals, and so one of my favorite production values was Dan Fogelberg, like the way Dan Fogelberg used vocals and harmony. So I tried to kind of take it into that lane, and it actually accomplishes that, I think,
Wow, this is amazing when you start digging into someone's like box of musical treasures. Like
it's
absolutely.
It's interesting when you're producing, whether it's a painting or music or a play or writing a book, that you're trying to appeal to pretty much everybody, and you drill it down so that it doesn't be overwhelming. And who actually picks it up, listens to it, looks at it, and how do they really feel? And I think in the music industry that you're lucky in that you get feedback pretty much. I don't think when you do, you get feedback.
If you're performing live, maybe.
Yeah.
You're performing live, you have that immediate feedback. And that's what I think musicians missed over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think we all miss that. And I think when you paint a picture and it goes in an art gallery somewhere, you don't, unless you stand there and stalk people, you don't get feedback. Maybe.
Right.
Unless it sells or it doesn't, and sometimes I think television or plays get feedback, but not for a couple years down the road. So I think that all of the artistic efforts, everybody puts their heart out there and hopes do. You
I
take
think
a risk.
musical acceptance nowadays for music that's wide played is a little formulaic, and Warren could probably speak to this because they're like, you know, the expression is in I think it's in country music that I've heard is "Don't bore us, get to the chorus."
Oh wow!
My God! I had to watch my language
Warren,
so
Warren,
fast.
why don't you
like
speak
I
a little
just
bit
had
about?
to put my hand over my mouth.
That's
Like, shut the front door right now.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Oh.
Seriously,
Well,
I
you
had
know,
to watch.
one is
Wow.
when you add the commercial viability aspect to it, though, you know, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
So when you add the commercial viability, all of a sudden this some of the new parameters, change a bit, you know, because it's like anything else, any other business is you've got to meet your marketplace. As songwriting goes, one of the beautiful things about Jimmy and the Tall Man thing and all that kind of stuff was it came about so organically. There was no great, you know, plan overall other than let's just try this, and then it grew into that. But I think, you know, there's a different thing between conjuring a song and opening up a vein. They're different, and both are needed. Yeah. You know, frankly, and sometimes at your best, one thing I can't do. I've never written a fishing song. The reason is I fished twice in my whole life, and so if I write a fishing song, you're going to know that I'm conjuring. Yeah. And I have too many hit songwriter buddies that live in Georgia who fish their whole life, and they'll write that song because they'll write it way better than me. And so I stick to what I know. And I'll tell you, when it comes to Jimmy, nobody writes the truth more than Jimmy. He literally opens his literal or figurative diary and just pours. But at the same time, the craft is essential because, you know, the don't bore us, get to the chorus. And some, you know, I'll tell you, I've been with the Durango Songwriters thing forever, teaching and critiquing songs and all that kind of stuff. And I've worked with so many young songwriters. And there's a time where when somebody's got a song and you're about 2.5 minutes in, there's no chorus yet, that stuff comes into play at some point. Wow. You know, I mean, we all love Bob Dylan, but his big hits were not the ones with 18 verses. So, you know, so it's there's some sort of a thing in there, but it can be. I'm working on this curriculum right now called Hearts and Crafts, and because we've all heard, and I don't mean to go on, but we've all heard songs with a ton of heart and not a lot of craft, and then we've all heard songs that have been crafted beautifully and there's absolutely no heart, and the necessity to have both come together at the same time. That's the deal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like technical
and I just
playing
gotta say,
in music. You know, a guitarist, like, that's technical versus the soul. Like, you know, and I don't want to get into any. Don't say it, Nancy, because I know where you're going. Yeah, I know. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. We'll get the email. But
I don't think there was. I don't think there was ever a time during my tenure of the Talls where I ever said, "Gosh, is everybody going to like this song?" I only asked myself one question: is Marty going to like it?
Oh, Marty! What the heck? Well, Marty has got that cynical, like, you know, he's got the quirky going on. Marty, how did you meet Jimmy?
You know, exactly the same way that Warren was talking about, through that Western Beat case that would happen every month. That's where I met, like, you know, I'm so many important people in my life, and the guy Billy Block who put that together was another guy like Jimmy who had an amazing talent for bringing people together that needed to be together. Mm-hmm. He had a vision for that in the same way Jimmy did, and it's a unique talent and something that cannot be taken for granted. You know,
it's pretty selfless when people do that.
Yeah,
you know, it's a selfless thing about putting people together and seeing what happens. You know, you know, and in the arts, you know, it's a hard industry. And I hate to use the word industry with it, you know, because it's kind of like anti-industry, but it is what it is. But, you know, to put people together in the music world, let's put it that way, you know, it's a different time now, you know, and I think it still prevails. We've still got all these, you know, the digital streaming versus albums, you know, all of that, but albums are hopefully coming back. You know, there's all of this stuff. But no matter what, there is music out there. And I think, like, Jimmy had this amazing way of intricate observance Like if you listen, like I said that in the beginning of the show, like you can connect with being there at some point. You understand when you were a kid and watching a frog jump for the first time and not really being scared, but you're like, do I want to touch that frog or not? It's jumping right by my foot. You know what I mean? That kind of feeling. He had that ability of those little moments, and those little moments are so forgotten, I feel like, in today's commercial world of music, the big commercial world. And when we bring it down
can I say that when it
go for it.
Sorry, I was just going to say when it comes together well, you get both, right?
Yeah.
But what you just said, intricate observance, that may be the best description of Muffin's music that I've ever heard.
Yeah, he was a student of the human condition, and those are the best songwriters, right?
That's
so let's get to the word muffin,
like
the name Muffin, because like when we heard his name was Jimmy-Yessian Muffin, we're like, well, we're just going to call you Muffin because that is cool. And I think we tried to ask him about that on his last interview with us of future, and he's like all coy, like So, Jeff, I heard that you are the person to go to ask about the Muffin name. Do you know the Muffin man?
Well, it's interesting story because I first asked Jimmy about it when we're out on from Different Mothers from our tour, and I think he was actually getting one over on me because what he made it sound like was more like that movie A Bronx Tale, where he lived in the Bronx and he lived in a neighborhood and there was a social club there with big Italian men who habited there. And it kind of revolved around that. So anyway, and Jimmy told me a story, and it was like, oh, cool. It was like we had this event for him on July 24th, and somebody said, how did he get the name? And so I told him the story that Jimmy told me, and he goes, no, that's not
from
what
the back
it was.
of the room. Muffin's going,
so
no,
cool.
that's
back
not right,
of the room. Yeah, that's not right, Jeff.
So we don't know.
So what is the right one? Because I just told Durango the story. So what is it? Okay.
He was playing with one of his buddies out in front of this social club, and the guy called him in and said, "Hey, come on in here. Hey, do you like muffins?" And Jimmy was like, "Yeah, I like muffins." And they gave him a big box of muffins that obviously somebody had dropped off in tribute, if you will, and he and his buddy took home the muffins. Every time he walked past the social club, the guys would call him Muffin, and it stuck with him.
The social club. Just even thinking that the social club. Who calls that doesn't occur now, does it? Do we have social clubs now, or is that a Northeast thing? Is that a New York thing?
I think it's a Northeast thing, but I don't want to say anything.
That's so funny.
It's a certain kind of social club where people wear bathrobes and later wear $3,000 Armani suits.
Yeah, if you don't know about it, it's because you're not supposed to know about it.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
God, it's like
I would urge you to watch A Bronx Tale.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I just feel like I'm going into the Skulls and Bone Society here. The Illuminati's going to come after us.
Not the Illuminati.
No.
Oh my God!
It would not be strange to picture a shoebox with a dead fish being delivered on a Monday morning.
Well,
but we said too much. I would love it if you play Warren's tune.
Yeah, I think that is exactly. I was thinking that too. So Warren, are you ready? Me and Donovan, we're going to play that. Okay, here it is. And
Great.
As I recall, Jeff, isn't this on the Future album? As I recall, or I just know it from before? Yeah.
It is.
Here it is.
And quite honestly, this was a song, another curation. Warren, I'm just going to say a brief thing, and then Warren will tell you the rest of the backstory to the tune. Warren loves this restaurant that's called Pache in Laurel Canyon, and hangs out there often. And me and Donovan, Laurel Canyon was kind of the center of hippiedom in Los Angeles during the late 60s and throughout the 70s. Right. And so it seemed like a great fit since Warren hangs out in the places where the ghosts of the great hang out. And so,
you hippie, Warren?
We're all hippies.
Well, yes, we are. Like, goddamn. I mean, we're in Asheville today while we record. They're just in Austin, and they're, people are invading the hippiedom. Stop it. Like, don't ruin the hippie land.
I have to say,
can I add to that when I'm sitting at Pache Restaurant, within a 1.5-mile radius, almost, I would say 80% of the stuff of singer-songwriter hippie stuff, they all live within a 1.5-mile radius, literally, of that restaurant. Most of them lived on one street. And so
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Three Dog Night, Frank Zappa.
Really? Oh, Frank Zappa. Now dude, you've got to give a shout out to Frank Zappa. Like, every time I can, I want to give a shout out to him, because if it wasn't Frank Zappa, he set up independent distribution of music. He was the man in El Centro, cottage industry in El Centro, all freaking places. El Centro. Yeah, really. I mean, you've driven through El Centro at some point in your life. Like, that's
I was born in El Centro.
Are you?
I was literally born there.
Listen, like, I have to watch my language on this show tonight. Are you? You were born in El Centro. It's like, I only know because we live in Julian and Borrego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was born in El Centro, right next to Calexico there, and
yeah, cool. And there's music.
So it makes sense that you would come from the center.
I'll tell you.
The Salton
Can I tell you?
Smells mighty fine.
No, man. Well, the thing is that Laurel Canyon, I'm a student of the time. I mean, I grew up in Los Angeles in the 60s and 70s, but I was a teen in the 70s. But I'm a serious student of the time. It informs my music to this day, even if a song doesn't sound exactly like it. It is absolutely it is rooted in what I glean from that still to this day. So it's just a huge part of my life. And so me and Donovan, when he brought it up, I thought, well, Jeff knows. It's like, of course I have to do that one. That's
all right.
That's the
Let's
one
play it. Let's play it. Here it is. Me and Donovan.
When I was growing up, it was a time of peace and love. The cool kids were getting high, flying on magic carpet rides, but I was afraid to fly. My buddies formed a band, had the girls in their hands, and I stood on the outside, all alone in those cold nights, but I had a dream inside, deep inside. I wanted to be like Donovan, play guitar and sing like him, sing like a loner, just like me, in need of a friend. Well, I was sleeping in my car with my dog and my guitar, and I would play on Bleecker Street to lonely souls just like me, for a little change and a bite to eat. get tough. I take a ride on his melody and catch the wind above the trees to anywhere, oh, anywhere I wanna be. Yeah. When I hear Donovan, it lets me be young again. It feels like I'm home again with an old friend. Me and Donovan. Me and Donovan. Me and Donovan.
Love it.
Everyone, you're listening to Big Blend Radio, and that was Me and Donovan, written by Jimmy Yessian and performed by Warren Sellers. And I'm serious, like, I love that. I love. Is that a sitar in there? Well, what is that? It is a sitar in there, Warren?
Yes.
What's going on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a guitar, I think, probably put through a thing to be a sitar, or maybe an actual sitar. I don't know. Our buddy Ed Tree was part of the Dolls, as you know.
Oh, Ed Tree rocks.
Yeah,
he
played that.
And he played
absolutely.
I Had a Gun once.
Buds.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, he played that part, and you know, sometimes there are certain sounds where you go, let's see, how do you get psychedelic? Well, add open pouch, pour in sitar, and stir. And I mean, it's just amazing what it brings immediately.
Yeah,
that's a formula.
But it makes sense. You know, it's kind of like, you know, you look at Jimmy-Yessian, you know, and you listen to his music. You know, if you put him as a Beatle, he would be George Harrison, I think.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not the Beatles. You have to say it like Ed Sullivan did. The Beatles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that, you know, with Donovan, I mean, he takes you to Atlantis, you know. Let's go. Yeah. Hey, Donovan's still going, dude. He was at the South by Southwest a few years back. He's still going, you know.
That's right. Amazing.
Nancy loved Donovan, and what's the thing about Dylan versus Donovan? What happened? I don't know, but I love that. Why can't we just have that peaceful, nice going on? Jeff, I want to go to some of the other songs on the album too. Chuck Cannon was on there. I Sold Our Home Today.
Yes.
I know on the Future album too, and I remember when Jimmy was on the show again in 2019 when he first released the album, and this song it's like a punch in the gut, like. And now, you know, Nancy and I travel the country with now pet sitting and home sitting because, you know, it was a way to stay, you know, socially distant and quarantined. And honestly, we're so happy because we're around animals. And, you know, we're seeing homes around the country, right? And I Sold Our Home Today. And when you're traveling and you're in people's homes every day, you see people's lives. And this song means everything. And then I think about that. You know, especially family homes. Like we've been in places where they're doing the lines on the wall, like how tall you've grown. You know, the little measuring stick for kids.
Right.
You know,
that's
and this
kind of
song,
what that song talks about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that measuring stick. And you think about.
I would tell you. When Chuck sent me that song, it stopped playing, and I think I sat in the same exact position for about as long as the song is. It really blew a hole in me. Specifically, that song is about Jimmy selling the home that he shared with his first wife, Amy, who passed away from cancer in 2006, I believe.
Yeah.
I want to say 2006. And I'm the one who helped Jimmy pack up the house And so, you know, and so when I was listening to all those things and listening to the way Chuck did it, and, you know, Chuck is a next level songwriter. He's a huge songwriter right here in Nashville. You know, he has tens of hit songs here for other artists and for himself. And he just did such an outstanding job of it. I mean, I think I wrote him a slobbering email, man. I never heard anything like that, and that was awesome. Very interesting take on Jimmy's song for sure.
Let's play it.
Oh,
Here
sure.
it is.
And I got to say, you know, it just kind of reminded me of the whole project, because just call who you know. Jimmy called me and said, "Do you think Chuck would do it?" And you know, you don't know what somebody's going to say, and I mean, you just don't know. I was so pleased that he agreed.
Yep.
You know, that's amazing. Like, I think, but Warren isn't. You know, I always looked at it this way. You know, there's musical drama sometimes. Like, our band had musical drama, but it was family, and it was family. Yeah. You know, in a way, and sometimes it was better family. Not except for Nancy, okay, because you know, she's my mother and she's sitting here. But no, she's my mom and I love her. But honestly, musicians, there is like a code. I don't know how to explain it to others, but there's a code of it's integrity, and it's in music and musicianship. Jimmy had that integrity to the song, to the people, and apparently to your food too. If you were part of the Tallman group, you got the food. You know? So integrity is it. You know.
Yeah.
So I think people do answer those calls. I always call it
people with parallel paths.
People with what?
I was just going to say, I always called it people with parallel passions.
Yeah.
Or I would just say principles, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's some in the up and ups and the muckety mucks that are, you know, full of themselves at that point. And when you lose yourself into that, that's when you've lost yourself, and that's sad. When you see people go to that extreme, and you know, that's sad. But there are great musicians out there who just really have integrity to soul and passion and what it's about, and Jimmy definitely had that. But let's play this song. I mean, it just, you know, that song has been sticking with us as we travel a lot, and just going, especially like newlyweds, and even it's just like even the title. If you just went on the title alone.
Well, we did it. We sold our home and just went, let's go on the road. Yeah.
I know, but I sold our home today. Like, if you didn't know that someone was going to sell your home, like if you didn't know your partner was going to do that, you'd be like, what? You know. Yeah. But anyway, here it is. I sold our home today, written by Jimmy-Yessian, and really Chuck Cannon did an amazing job. So take a listen.
I sold our home today. You weren't there. I couldn't stay. Almost cried when I gave the keys away. It was hard to say goodbye. I love linger on as a new young couple writes their song. They'll figure out right from wrong. We did it that way. I sold our the day the baby
became. The night your wedding band slipped down the drain. The earthquakes and the hurricane. I'd do it all over with you. It seems like yesterday we moved into this place. Still see the smile on your face. I remember you that way. I sold our home today. These memories will always stay. I'll keep in touch with the friends we made until they fade. Before I go, I'll make one last toast to all the highs, to all the lows, to you and me, and what matters most. Our hearts found their way. I sold our home. I sold our home. I sold our home today.
Everyone, again, that was I Sold Our Home Today, written by Jimmy-Yessian, also known as the Muffin Man, and you can get the album. That is written, well, it's performed by his friends, and that was Chuck Cannon performing the song I Sold Our Home Today, and it's off of the album Muffin Music. And the songs, I said Muffin Music, the songs of Jimmy Muffin Yessian, performed by his talented friends. You can go to Bandcamp and just type in Muffin Music 2021, 2021, and get it. And when you buy it, $15 of every download purchase will go to PanCan, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. When you can go to pancan.org to learn more about them. And that song stops you in your tracks. And I think what you said, Jeff, about what Chuck did to that, it's like, I'm so glad we're not doing this on Zoom. Just like, it's a difficult time remembering Jimmy, because you want, in some of the lyrics in there talk about, memories continue on.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what we're doing.
I'm glad
today.
we're not on Zoom.
I know.
I'm glad we're not on Zoom.
And like even before, right up till the time we started recording, Nancy and I are like, you want to see my snot? So, and I can only imagine for all of you who have been performing with him on stage and writing with him, and also his wife, how is she doing, Jeff? I just, I shouldn't ask that on there, I suppose, but, I care about her.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Leslie is, Leslie and Jimmy found each other a few years after Amy passed. And quite honestly, I think they saved each other. You know, Jimmy's heart had been broken by the loss, and Leslie had losses of her own, and the two of them got together and made a life together, and it was beautiful. How is she doing? She's broken a little bit, I think, still, as would be expected. It's only been, you know, Jimmy's been gone for a month and a week. And, you know, but the last 4 weeks of Jimmy's life, I was at his house most days. I came to L.A. from the desert to kind of hang out with him and give him the ride home that he so richly deserved. And then I spent the next week my wife and I spent the next week kind of propping Leslie up, taking her places and stuff to kind of get her out of the house a little bit. And she's gonna, she's gonna make it, but I expect that she's gonna be, an emotional wreck for a while. You know, Jimmy leaves a big hole, just like George Bailey.
Yeah, that is exactly it. You know, it people that are that sensitive to people. You know, he's sensitive, and he puts it in his music. You know, Marty, with Jimmy and his music and what you write, do you see covering any more? I mean, you're going to go out and do more with the Tallman Group. I'm so happy. I know Nancy and I both are so happy to hear that you guys are still going to go and perform. How are you? Are you going to do some of his songs, or you guys splitting them up?
Actually,
how's that going to happen?
Yeah, I've proposed.
Well,
to
you
the
have
guys
to play
that...
his songs. I'll come out there and kick your ass. Sorry, I just had to infuse some spice in here right now because we're all going to cry. So anyway, so.
Yeah, I have proposed to the guys that when we make our next record, which would be our 6th, that we each do a Jimmy song on there, and so I think that would be fitting, you know.
How did that happen with you guys? You know, with the Tallman, you had the theme going, right? So it's kind of interesting. Nancy and I have kind of gotten into that, with our magazine changing up and with Celebrate the Arts being our, new music and arts magazine. You know, we're expanding so that, because we do a lot of music, and it's really exciting, and we're thrilled and excited to put so much of independent music out in the forefront, and we can do it more with what we're doing. And we play these crazy music games on like Nancy and I have we're a little nuts about Nancy's been muted this whole time. She's here. I heard you laughing in the other room. There you are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not used to doing Blog Talk recordings anymore. But anyway, so she's here. Nancy's here. I thought it went through. But anyway, we play these music games all the time, and we'll it's chocolate day, so we're going to look up musicians and performances that go with chocolate, like the letters of the thing,
You're
like CHO, we'll play we want to see it live. But now we do music playlists on Spotify, so now it's kind of changed into, and you guys, you'll all be on there. I think you already are. But, was it a word? How did that happen for the Tallman Group? It was just a word or a theme? I mean, some of them seemed like they were a Beatle influence. There was I remember the one Helping Hands song too. There was helping, there's nakedness going on.
Yeah, as Jeff said, every month we kind of agree on a theme for the song for the next month, and
but you have to agree on it. That's the thing.
That's the hard part.
How did that part?
Usually
how did it go to? How did it get there? That's my point. It's how did you?
Most commonly, we would, several of us would throw in some ideas, and then Jimmy would put in his idea at the end, and that's usually the one we ended up with.
Really?
But
he was
Donovan,
after all.
Me and Donovan, that song. I don't know if Warren knows this, but the challenge for the theme for that month was to write a song about somebody who goes by who's known by one name only. I wrote a song about Gandhi. Jeff, do you remember what you wrote for that?
Yes, I wrote Houdini.
No way.
So it's sometimes, and it's amazing what can come out of just the simplest bare bones idea like that. And then you get a song like Me and Donovan, which Warren, then like treated perfectly, and it's just so, it's just so funny how what a small seed can grow into,
Yeah, I mean, Nine Cats is still living with us.
Isn't it true though, guys? But isn't it true though, Marty and Jeff? It's being prompted. It doesn't always end up in brilliance necessarily, but just across the board. But being prompted is a help sometimes. Just like, well, let me think about that for a second. And it's like, who knows where it's going to get there? But it's a great songwriting tool.
It's a tool
absolutely.
of creativity. It's a tool of creativity. As writers or song, music, art, whatever, whenever you get those kind of prompts, it forces you out of the box that you put yourself in. Because we do.
Sure. I never left a Tall Man. I never left a Tall Man dinner without starting my song on the ride home.
Yeah,
I'll bet.
Really?
I'll bet.
Yep.
We're all different. Some of us didn't start it until the night before the next meeting.
So
that's right.
How about a song about chocolate?
I
think chocolate.
They're out there.
Chocolate could be a great prompt.
I'm all about chocolate.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Song I can think about is Candyman. I mean, it's not even chocolate.
It's not good enough. No, chocolate. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
No. I can go off. Like Nancy, we got a challenge going on tonight. It's going off. Chocolate challenge is happening.
But it's fun. What it does, and what you're talking about, even putting together playlists on a theme, is it just makes you think of something you wouldn't have thought otherwise, and that's the whole point of it. It's like, was Jimmy going to write a song about Donovan? If that hadn't happened, probably not. Maybe not.
Well,
and then
Donovan,
we get this song, which is a gift.
Yeah, and that song is like, because you can even, if you don't know, I mean, I don't know the younger generation now would know Donovan, but like I grew up with Donovan because Nancy, like, made sure I knew about Donovan, and she would play it, like, even Johnny Mathis, Donovan, you'll know certain people, and, I was like, no, Bob Dylan. And you're like, no, you got to know both. You got to do both. And it shouldn't be fireworks over the both, but that's what media does. But I think that song goes with anybody that opens you up in life, like musically. Like you want to listen to this because it makes you feel this way. Just that's what his song did. It doesn't matter if it's Donovan or not. It's everybody has that music that we had as kids, especially. What is it about music as kids versus now? Like, Elger, you know what I mean?
At some point, you grow up. You grow up and you have a different set of problems in the world.
Or do you?
Well, I never want to.
I think you tune out your parents. You turn the radio way up, and then you also have to hear what they're saying, and you go like, "Oh, this music's cool, man."
Jeff? What did Jimmy have to say about your songs about your dad?
Well, Jimmy loved his dad, and in spite of all the songs about my dad that I've written, all I ever wanted was his love and approval. I didn't always get it, but I have a song on the last Tall record that I was on called "Closure." And it was a song about a dream that I had, and all questions were answered, and all family business was settled in a beautiful song. Of all forgiveness and everything. He had a different relationship with his dad. His dad was stern with him, but I think it was just a different dynamic. I think his dad was a different kind of guy than my dad.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, that's kind of like when I heard Jimmy write the song "The Future." I'd been working with Jimmy. We had been, messing around at my studio for a while, and I said to him, after he premiered "The Future" at a Tall Man group meeting, I said to him, "That's your next record, man. That is your next record.
It's amazing.
Please let me produce it." And so he did. And the thing that I liked about that song was, it was almost like a father talking to a son in a very stern way, but in a very non-insulting way. And I think that's why that song reverberated with me so strongly. And that began a whole other level of me and Jimmy working together. That song, just a. But like I said, his dad, he loved his dad. He has a beautiful song on our From Different Mothers record called "Song for My Dad" that talks about his father's existence in very sweet and loving terms.
And also on Muffin Music, is "Not Under My Roof," which I think is a really true father song that he wrote.
Absolutely.
Andy, song can I say about that? That is my choice. If you had to put me up against going to pick your absolute favorite song for various reasons, that song to me should be cut by somebody. That one is so commercially marketable. They all are beautiful, but that song, and then Monty Byram sings it. The man can sing anything, but I just think it's got all the bells and whistles, man.
I agree.
It was fun. That song was recorded, Not Under My Roof it's actually Under My Roof. We all call it Not Under My Roof because the first line of every verse is Not Under My Roof, but Under My Roof.
True.
That was recorded entirely at my studio. It was it's the part that Monty came in and cut his guitars to a drum track that I had written for the song, and that was like at the COVID was still going on, and he was like, "No, I'm coming down," because Monty and I have long history together. We've written together many songs over the years, and that was such a fun session. And he really, just really brought it home.
He did a song on the Future album called "Song for My Dad," and
that's it. That's the one I'm talking about.
That was such a
sweet
prolific song, and then going to the end about. His dad not knowing about his war fighting, the war he was in. And we played it on a song last year. We had a special Veterans Day show, and we played it. And at the end of the song, we played taps. And Jimmy emailed me, and I think that's, one of the last, maybe we talked before, but one of the last correspondence we had with him. He's like, why didn't I think of playing taps at the end of the song and stitching it to the end? And I just had it as a gel between the next segment and everything, and it was it was perfect for his dad, and he said, like, why didn't I think of that? And I'm like, because you were writing about your relationship, he really, it's so hard to be a hippie and handle war at the same time. And I think that's a really
especially
hard
that war.
Yeah, it's really hard. War's not going away. Military has to be there, but you want to be a hippie and not let it happen. You know what I mean? And it's very hard.
Yep.
And musically, that's a thing that I think he handled very well in songs.
Yeah.
And something we're still dealing with, but we're going to close it out, guys. I know we had all kinds of songs we could play, but I encourage everyone to just go and buy the album, download it.
Yeah.
It's going to a good cause, and really listen to it because it's beautiful. And those who've been to concerts with Muffin, I'm jealous. Nancy, you're jealous too. I know you are.
I know.
We're jealous.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not letting any of our musical friends go by without seeing them again, So, Muffin Music 2021.bandcamp.com. Please go there. You will see it, and $15 of every download purchase will go to PanCan, the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network, and you can go learn more about them at pancan.org. We want to thank you all for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Marty, awesome to have you back on the show. Thank you, everyone. Marty Axelrod. We want to thank Warren Sellers for joining us, and please come back again. All of you, you guys know you've always got the open door, right, to come here. And
awesome. Thank you.
Warren, are you related to Peter Sellers? I just got to ask.
Not that I know of, but I'd like to launch a probe into the matter. I'll tell you that.
We got to thank also. And listen, I want to give a big hug to the tall men, all of you guys. John and Ed and Severin, Marty, all of you guys.
We're having our October meeting tomorrow night, and we'll be ordering pizza, and it won't be quite the same. Jimmy once flew in I swear to God, pizza dough from the Bronx to make a pizza for us.
That's so funny.
Really?
Really? He was like, you guys don't know what pizza is, and that was so Jimmy. You like the grand gesture, you know?
That is so weird.
Truly.
We had pizza last night here in Asheville. That is New York pizza, and Nancy's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "This is New York pizza. This is like New York style pizza." Last night, and we still have it. We're going to have it for dinner, like for leftovers.
Can I just say that I ate it with a knife and fork?
No, you don't do that. It was sliding. I was going, get over it. Get over it. Just.
I was in Colorado last weekend, and we found a New York pizza place and on their website they said, if you have allergies to anything, don't tell us about it. Just don't come here.
Oh my God!
I thought that was pretty New York.
That's funny.
Well, you know, you can always get happy in Colorado. They have the happy camper, apparently.
Yes.
I don't know anything about it, but there's the happy camper. We listen to the commercials.
They
That's
deliver.
all I'm saying. They do.
There you go.
On their own time.
Thank you guys
Everybody
so
can
much
get
for having us.
Yes.
Let's hear the future.
Yes, we're going to listen to the future. Thank you, Jeff Kozak, again, not only just for, introducing us to the tall man, Jimmy, and for always being part of what we do here on Big Bling Radio. We love showcasing the music of you, Jimmy, the tall man, Marty, everyone. Really. And today, honored to share this music and share the stories. Really, it's an honor. And so we're going to close with Future as sung by wonderful Jeff Kozak. So everyone, again, go check out the album. Thank you all. Go to bigblendradio.com for more shows. But thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Jeff. And everybody behave.
You're welcome.
And don't do
Thank
what
you.
we want to do. And go eat some pizza now. All right, so here it is, the future. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've heard the grass is never greener on the other side, and I've seen dust blow into a blind man's eyes. In these songs I have written and sung, poured my soul into every last one. The past is already written, the future may never come. Don't turn around, there's the ghost at your door. Not only beggars find forgiveness with their knees upon the floor. Never forget where you come from. Be grateful for every crumb. The past is already written, the future may never come. Be mindful of the company you keep. Weed out the takers and the stalkers and all the other creeps. Feed the hungry dogs and homeless ones. You might be next in line, my son. Oh, the past is already written, future may never come. Well, did you dance